yeah.
We are
Here we
back.
go.
Welcome
We're back.
back.
We're back.
We made it.
We
Another
have.
week.
Now, I got to say, we are still calling this a midweek something. And if we don't find a new name fast enough, I
Right.
think it's going to just be branded as the midweek something.
The midweek something. I kind of like that though, because it's not trying to take itself too seriously, but it's
Right.
also pretty chill and laid back, and I appreciate that.
I think so too. And I'm a big fan of like, call it what it is, right? Like,
exactly.
And it is in the midweek,
It is midweek.
and it is something.
It is something. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but
I'm not either.
it sure is something.
It is. Well, here we are back again. I think we can do it.
Yeah. This
Yep.
weekend we have quite a few things planned.
Oh my goodness.
It is going to be eventful. I'm super excited.
I am so excited. It's, well, we have our leadership summit coming.
Bazinga.
Yeah. Now,
we do.
I am pumped about this. What's interesting is we did this a few years ago. So we started out and we did a staff retreat, is what we called it, a staff retreat, and we rented hotel rooms in Santa Fe, which is an hour or so away, and we took just our staff up and kind of did like a leadership event out of it and kind of a vision casting and then last year during the pandemic, we couldn't do it. Like hotels were closed and it just wasn't working. And
Right.
so we were like, well, what are we going to do? And we thought, well, what if we did it in-house in the church building?
Genius.
And we opened it up to other people in the church. And so when we did that, what would normally we would have, about 10 or 12 people with us in Santa Fe. We had, almost 20 people.
20 or 30, yeah. It was a nice little group. And
It was good, wasn't it?
yeah,
And it went really well.
it was sweet.
Yeah, I think we learned some good leadership principles. We talked through some stuff, and I think it impacted our church in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I heard that it impacted people even in their workplace, where they were able to apply some of this stuff just every day, Monday through Saturday.
Right.
It's not just a church thing; it's a actual living life thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that went pretty good. And so now this year, we thought this went really, really well. And what if we made it just a little bit bigger? And so we're bringing in a special speaker.
Yeah, very special.
I know, special to me. He's my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
That
lie.
is super sweet. And he's from, he's big man doing big man things as far as leadership in the marketplace goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty sweet.
It is. He works for a cell phone carrier, and he actually was I'm not allowed to say which one.
That's
yeah.
fair.
Yeah,
I
it's
get
part
that.
of the company rules and corporate America. We get it, right? Got to do it.
Gotta
So, but he took over a call center.
Nice.
And it was the worst performing call center for many, many years in a row in the company.
Whoa.
And yeah, and so he took it over, and him along with his leadership team that he helped develop and whatever else, took it to the number one call center in the entire company.
Wow.
In less than 12 months.
Hello.
Right? Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Great balls of fire.
Right. So the guy knows how to do some good leadership stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's he's got the chops to do it. And then because of that, it ended up elevating him. He's now his position is called Director of Leadership Development. And I'm not sure if it's for the entire company or division of the company or whatnot. Wow. But his job is now developing leaders in a massive corporation, Fortune 100 kind of level, maybe 200, I'm not sure, company, massive corporation. And so he does just such a good job with that. I thought, bro, come help us with this.
Yeah, how fitting to have a leadership summit and then have someone in the marketplace who's actually developing leaders in the market.
Yeah, and he does it in a biblical way. So my brother is he went to Bible college. He graduated from Bible college. He has a theology degree, and although he's not pastoring a church per se, he has this incredible ministry in the marketplace, working with leaders, and he just essentially applies a lot of biblical principles and just great leadership stuff. And so anyhow, he's coming. I am so excited.
That's going to be sweet.
Yeah, I was like, Drew, can you come do this? And he was like, I don't know. Let me check my calendar. And I was like, I know. Yeah.
Popular people.
He is. Yeah, he's really popular. So he's coming. And so anyhow, he's coming here, and we're going to do this thing. If you have not registered, please register. You can do it right now on our website. And so depending if you're watching this, when you're watching this video, it may be too late, but it is Saturday, February 26th, year 2022. So,
Yeet.
yeah. And so that's what we got going on. So you want to register, you want to get here. It's going to be an outstanding time. If you're a leader in any capacity, anywhere in your life, I think there's stuff you can glean out of this. And even if you're not a Christian, there's some really fantastic leadership principles that will be taught and modeled. And so my brother is carrying a huge chunk of it. I get one session. I was like, well, I'm writing the check, so I get one session.
That's a good point, you know?
Yeah. You got to give me one. So,
right.
So I got one session in there, and my brother's going to take the rest of them. And really, I think we're onto something big in our church with this. And God's given me a gift of entrepreneurship, and I get to apply it Monday through Saturday. And so to be able to be able to share that with others, I think it's gonna be a really, really good time. I hope people in our church are able to grow in their leadership and impacts them personally and even corporately and anywhere else they might be leaders.
Yeah. I think there's a quote, I forget who says it, but it's like, everywhere you go, preach the gospel, and sometimes use words too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think this is a great opportunity in leadership to be able to bring the gospel and the implications and the habits and the mindsets, bring the gospel into how we lead and shape how we lead in a way that's biblical, that has a way to stand out from the way the world does things. And I love the way how the gospel impacts the way we do leadership, and I love how it has implications Monday through Saturday. I think that's so awesome. So I'm super excited for it. I know you're super excited. I think it's going to be, we have like 75 people.
Yeah, something like that. Which
something massive.
Yeah, well, for us, which is huge.
Right.
I mean, we didn't really promote it. We didn't talk. I mean, this is the first like real promotion we've really done out with it. It's just kind of been word of mouth.
Right.
We had 20 or so last year, and we thought, well, if we had like 30 or 40 this year, that'd be fine. So anyhow, it kind of word traveled, and you know what it was? It was a taco truck.
Dude, tacos speak volumes.
Yeah.
Like there's something about, because like some food is like, oh God, I guess I'll have it, but like taco trucks.
Yeah.
That's how you did it.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
Absolutely. So if you didn't know, now you know. We are actually going to have free tacos. There's a taco food truck coming, and so if you register, you got to register, sign up. That way we know how much food to have prepared. But we have a taco food truck coming, and it's like it's free. So just come be part of the leadership conference and that we're doing, and free.
Right. So that's super exciting for this weekend. But let's talk about last weekend. I thought your jokes were pretty on point this past weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how it goes. There was one in particular. I can't quite remember what exactly, but it was like the last one that you said was just straight fuego. Like
yeah,
it was
I'm actually pulling it up right now because
snap crackle pop.
I told a few, and I don't remember which order they went in. So we had pickup lines.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we had pickup lines, and so
you have to.
Yeah, I've had a garden. I'd put your tulips and my tulips together.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's maybe more of a married line than a pickup line.
Yeah.
So don't use those like opening lines, right?
First introductions.
Yeah.
Hey, girl.
Is your name Google? Because you're everything I've searched for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're getting somewhere.
We did somewhere. Is your name Faith?
Yes, that's the one.
Is your name Faith? Because you are the evidence of everything that I've hoped for.
That's straight.
Yeah, I think that deserves a. Nope. Yes.
Yeah.
That one?
That's the one. Or the applause. Yeah.
The applause. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
That's
there we
the
go.
one.
Yeah. And the breakup line one we did as well, we had, the girl says, "Hey, your ex is so attractive." And the boy says, "Which one?" She says, "This one."
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's straight savage.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Yeah.
And you also had a song this week that you really got us. As soon as you started the first line, I was like, he's not going to do this, is he? Like,
yeah. No. So yeah, we have secret song, right? Every time.
Every time.
And but this time it wasn't so secret because my kids, they challenged my kids were like, "You wouldn't do that. There's no way you could do that." And I'm like, have we met? Like,
do you know who I am?
Right. Yeah. Like if you tell me like not to do something, there's a really good chance
you're going to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just a male like bet.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell me I won't.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me I won't.
Yeah. Tell me I won't. Dare me to do something and I will. And so, yeah. So this is what it was. They said, "I doubt you won't do it." So I was talking about, marriage is a covenant, not a contract.
Right.
And so, but then when you do have a contract, maybe I said, it's you're only as far in as you're going to be in, right? And so with a contract, you're only as far in as the other person's in. And so so how far are you in? And so I was like, never going to give you up, never going to let you down, never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye.
Never gonna
Tell a lie or hurt you. Yeah, so I rickrolled the church this week. It was pretty awesome.
It was straight fuego.
I said the first line, and like you could see like a group of people's eyes light up. They're like,
Is he doing it?
There's no way. By the end, I think there was actually people singing with me.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That would have been, that's.
And then I explained, I rickrolled the church. And then again, there's about 25% that were there were like, I don't really know. I was like, Google it.
What's a rickroll?
What's a rickroll?
How do you roll a rick?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. I rickrolled the church in a Sunday sermon. I don't, is this like, sometimes I wonder, like, am I just too sacrilegious, Yeah. But, I'm also me. And so,
hey, I think you have to be yourself on the pulpit.
I think so too. Yeah. I don't know. That's who I am. I'll rickroll you if I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring everyone down.
And then we had a word challenge too.
We did have a word challenge. And this week.
Oh my gosh. So these guys are like, they're making it challenging. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, it wouldn't be a word challenge if it wasn't challenging.
Okay. So I slipped it in there and I don't think anybody even noticed.
When you told me, I was like, what? Excuse me? Where did you?
Yeah. And then everybody who was listening, knew what the word was. So a bunch of youth group people knew what the words were, what the word was that they gave me, and even they didn't even catch me putting it in there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's like double points.
Well, I kind of had to be like slipped in because it has kind of a controversial word and meaning, and so yeah, I know, a little bit of drama. Yeah. So it was Bescomer. And so it really means to throw poop.
Nice.
Yeah. So how do you put that word in there? And so, I was talking about like what we're doing in marriage isn't working because the stats don't lie because, right, 54% of marriages end in divorce.
Right.
So what we've been doing isn't working. So we need to like reconsider what the movies and the world and pop culture all says about relationships.
Yep.
It ain't working. So it's maybe time to kind of rethink that. And I said, we got some stinking thinking and we need to Bescomer this thinking out of our mindset.
Oh.
Yeah. But I just slipped it in there and kept going and I didn't skip a beat
intended.
or not. No pun intended. That's right.
Just kind of slipped it in
Just kind of slipped it in there. Yeah. So, so I got the word and I got it in there. I was really surprised. I was like, before the service, I was like, oh my gosh, guys, you got to give me something easier than this. But
nice.
I know.
You did it. You did it.
Yeah. So Drew is coming this week, and he is going to preach on Sunday, and I'm thinking about throwing a word challenge at him. What do you think?
I think that would be genius.
Yeah. And so
does he watch this?
He does watch this.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. Who doesn't, right? This is yeah. So both of our watchers, our audience. Yeah. So hey, both of you guys, if you're watching right now, if you're watching this, don't tell Drew. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we so I'm thinking I'm gonna throw a word challenge. So we got to come up with a good one.
I love it.
And then and we're gonna give it to him like right before the service starts. So I know he's watched this, so I know he knows what word challenge is.
Yeah.
So if he's watching, he's gonna know that it's coming.
Right.
But he doesn't know what the word is.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. It's got to be something that it's got to be easy enough. I don't want to throw him like something as complex as that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But something that'll be difficult to throw in and how do you
think of something?
Yeah, I think so. We'll think of something. And then we're hoping to get him on the podcast before he leaves town.
That would be sick.
Yeah, that way we can interview him and see how it goes.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And I love how you mentioned this past Sunday marriage as like a powerful partnership, as two people coming together. As I think in every wedding you hear the person, the priest or the pastor talking about Eve was taken from Adam's side because, as equals around the heart, to be loved and under the arms to be protected, or, the classic wedding lines. But I love how you focused in on really the powerful partnership that goes into marriage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Bible calls it a covenant.
Yeah.
Which is a word that we don't use in our culture very much, but it's something that's used in the Bible all the time.
Right. Exactly. And I think you mentioned, and I love how you put like if you're treating your marriage as a contract, that's built on mutual distrust. And
Yeah.
and as soon as something goes wrong, then it's finger pointing and it's blaming, and it just starts a cascade. When it's a covenant, it's all built on connection. It's built on trust. And using the example of, you know, the actual covenant where they built a trench and they had animals cut in half, and do to me as was done to these animals if I fall out of covenant, and just how seriously they took it, like even before there was a government system about handing out marriage certificates or that sort of thing.
Yeah. And marriage was a different kind of process then too. I mean, a lot of times marriages were arranged back in the day,
Right?
and it was a family thing, and parents would get together and negotiate the marriages of their children, and I don't know like how that would work. On the surface, it seems like it wouldn't work well, but as a parent, I think I would probably ask my son, "Hey, what do you think of so and so?"
Right.
And if he's like, "I don't think I'd go down the path of trying to negotiate a marriage with that girl," or if he's like, "Wow, she's really cute, I like her," you know, and then vice versa. I think maybe there's probably, I just imagine that there's some pre-conversation that,
Right.
it doesn't say that in the Bible, like, but it just knowing parents and like, hey, you know, like, do you think she's cute? Yeah, okay, well then maybe this works. And I imagine the parents would probably ask the daughter a little bit like, hey, what do you think of so and so? And
Right.
you know, I mean, unless it's like obvious that he or she is out of that person's league, then maybe they're like, heck yeah, I'm gonna make this happen. You know?
And maybe it's like, it's one of those things where in those towns you've been a part of the community for so long and you've grown up with these people, and so even the parents like grew up with their parents, and
Yeah.
so they know, like, you know, because it was all family businesses and mom and pop shops, and so you're around the values and you see how that family has added value to the community or taken away value from the community. And so maybe it's one of those things where the parents know the reputation of the other parents, and maybe it's like, man, that family right there, they know values, they've added value to the community, and by extension, they've added value to the kids. I've seen, you know, these kids grow up, and I've seen them, whether that be in synagogue, you know, every week. I've seen them in synagogue every week, and them really welcoming people into their home. And so maybe it's a reputation thing to where it's, I see how you live Monday through Saturday, and I see you in synagogue. And so I understand, you know, if these people are going to get married, I know it's going to work because of the values that the parents instilled.
That's true.
Maybe it's something like that.
I imagine it would have to be like with the arranged marriages. And so then with the arranged marriages, then it's like all the families gather together and they do like, you know, all the ceremony stuff, and then they go consummate the marriage. And so they go get it on, you know, which is super awkward, by the way.
Right.
Like the way they did it. I mean, for us, for our culture, it seems really weird. Yeah. It's like the whole family gathers together and like they do all the ceremony, and then they're like, hey, why don't you two go step into this room and like finish the deal, you know, seal the deal.
And that's when the covenant started, is after. That's when it was like,
when they had sex. Right. And so here you are, right? Potentially a virgin, never done this thing before. It's not like there's the internet. Like, I mean, not to be crass, but it's not like there's the internet. You can't like look and see and try to figure this out. The only thing you know about sex is whatever you've been told by your peers and your parents.
Right.
Right. And so then it's like, hey, why don't you two step into this separate room? And their rooms weren't built like our rooms.
Nope.
Right? Like we have sheetrock, 2x4s, some insulation, you know what I mean? Carpet.
Right.
You can absorb the sound a little bit. Like, no, they're all in the next room, like maybe a curtain dividing you, and like you can hear everything. Like that sounds so terrible, doesn't it? I don't know how we got to this subject, but
it was a different time.
Totally a different time. Yeah, totally a different time. And so that's how they like sealed the deal. And it's funny, like nowadays, like all through ancient history and culture, that was kind of how it was done.
Right.
And it was very much a sacred process. And it wasn't a government handing out a piece of paper.
Right.
Because today you hear people say, well, you know, marriage is just a piece of paper. Well, according to the government, it is.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. You're right. According to the government, it is. But in the eyes of God and really in your own eyes and perspective, it should be so much more than just a piece of paper.
Right. And I think the thing is, in today's society, sleeping together before you get married is a normal occurrence.
Yeah. You gotta test drive the car.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, and actually how much damage and that is causing in today's society is crazy, because once you start sleeping together, that forms a covenant.
Yeah. Yeah. Spiritually. Yeah.
Right. And you're forming this covenant, and the Bible describes it as like this fire, but if you don't have the structure and you don't have the building and you don't have the support system around the fire is going to consume everything around it. Like the difference between, I mean, we have fire in our homes, you know, we cook food with it and it heats our house. And so we know that fire in the right container is actually life-giving.
Yeah.
And so sex in the...
Dude, you're preaching next week. That was awesome.
Sex in the context of marriage.
Sorry, Drew.
Yeah, don't worry. Your flight will be canceled. We'll figure it out.
No, that was really good, man. That was really good. Yeah.
But it's like when you're building this fire and you don't have this... you don't have the structure and you don't have the support system around it, it actually burns people.
Yeah.
And that's how we get these forest fires that, you know, run rampant. And it's like once you get burned, it's like you're connecting with these people who are already burned.
Yeah.
And once you're joined, like the Bible talks about two become one flesh, and that connection isn't just physically, it's emotionally and it's spiritually.
Yeah.
And so you're starting to connect with someone emotionally and spiritually, which means their baggage now starts to rub off on you and your baggage starts to rub off on them.
Yep.
And it's so much bigger than I think our society realizes.
Yeah.
And I think one of the analogies that I really liked was when you take a sticky note and you stick it to something, it sticks really well, right?
Yeah.
But then you take that sticky note, you unstick it, and then you stick it on something else, and then you stick it on something else, and all that stuff that's on the sticky note that actually detracts from making a healthy connection with another object. And our society's just like, do it with anyone. And it's like, do you understand that you're practicing divorce over and over again?
Yeah.
It's so scary, just because if we want healthy connection, if we want healthy families, if we want to leave the world a better place than we found it, then our view of sex has to be so much more sacred and so much more holy and set apart than what society has for it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And sex is such a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And in the right context, it's so good.
Right.
And you know, I've been married for 20 years to the same woman, I might add. Yeah.
That's a great
it is, right. And so
addition.
yeah, and so but like sex in our relationship is a very powerful connector that helps keep love going, and it's something that both of us enjoy. But you know, I don't know, it's interesting because you're a single man, and
I am a single man.
You are a single man. All you single men, all the ladies out there, hold on. Yeah, there we go. That's right. Yeah, he is available, I believe. And so,
any whoosies.
Yeah, what's your number? We'll put it on the screen.
Let's not do that.
Okay, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be awkward. Yeah, so we just made it awkward though. But yeah, as a single man, for you to be even like saying like, hey, these are the kinds of things I'm thinking about, that's really important. And I think it's a great foundation for being able to set up a healthy marriage when the day does come along. Yeah.
Yeah. I made a bet with one of my friends, and he was like, dude, in 5 years, you're going to be married. I'm going to put like $500 on that. And I was like, you know, I might just not get married in 5 years just so I can have that $500. But
yeah, $500. That's
$500 instead of having.
If you tell your girlfriend that like, hey, we're engaged, but we can't get married until this date because it's worth $500.
Yeah, I don't think that'll go over.
No, that won't go over well.
Maybe I have to rethink that.
Yeah, I would rethink that.
But anyways,
at least don't tell the girl that you're thinking this way.
Yeah. The word infatuation in the Bible, I think it actually means like a fake fire. Like, because sex is treated as a fire and a relationship is treated as a fire where you build a fireplace and you have that structure, but infatuation is like a fake fire.
Like a gas fireplace.
Right. Where it doesn't actually provide like heat, or it doesn't actually provide safety, or it doesn't. And so if you build a relationship entirely on infatuation, then when that brief bit of what is something that goes really like fire really fast. My words are not very well.
Like tissue paper?
Yeah. So like building a fire with tissue paper.
Yeah.
Like it's cool for about a second, and then it's
gone.
It's gone.
Done.
I think that's the comparison the Bible uses for that sort of infatuation.
Yeah. Well, the relationship can't be built on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sex is something that is an addition once you have that foundation.
Right.
But the way the world treats it right now is that like sex is like one of the first steps in a relationship.
Right.
And it's like, that's kind of messed up.
Right. And then as soon as love falls out, then the relationship falls out.
Yeah, and then love in the world's definition is how you feel,
Right.
and how you feel about this person,
Right.
and how you feel about yourself around that person.
Yeah.
And those things are important. Don't get me wrong, but love is more than just a feeling. It's got to be a commitment,
Right.
because sometimes, like, you're committed in a relationship. I've been married for 20 years. I can tell you, not every day I wake up feeling in love.
Right.
There's days I wake up and it's just like, I get up, I get ready, I brush my teeth, I end up leaving the house before anybody else wakes up some mornings. And then and then it's like all day I'm working, I'm doing my thing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I come home and it's like, hey, how's it going? How's your day? Yeah, okay, great. And it's just almost like a friendship some days,
Right.
versus like, I'm just so madly in love with you.
Right.
And yet there are plenty of days we do have that feeling, but there's days you don't. So if the feeling itself isn't like the lustful, like infatuation feeling comes and goes.
Right.
But love is really that commitment.
And I think you mentioned this Sunday morning, but I thought it was really good of maybe love really starts when the emotions and feelings end. That's how you really talk about love. I mean, if you look at just the Old Testament and the Lord's love for the Israelites and for Israel, man, I can't exactly say that the Israelites, what they did in their actions and just betraying the Lord's trust and betraying what the Lord was doing over and over again, that love was really a choice.
Yeah.
And the Lord choosing the Israelites time and time and time and time again, regardless of their actions, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of their mistakes, but he chose them over and over again. And you know, his covenant and his promises proved to be true regardless of the Israelites' action. That's how we get Jesus and Jesus kind of setting things right for us.
Yeah.
But it was like when love, it's choosing to do something regardless of somebody else's actions. So in a marriage, it's like the wife or the husband or the spouse choosing to love and choosing to commit regardless of the other person's actions.
Yeah. Because the contract versus covenant model, the contract is I'm only as in as you're in.
Right.
And so, like, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine.
Yeah.
I'll do my part if you do your part.
Right.
But what happens when your spouse doesn't do their part?
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, you know, the first time you're like, whatever, I'll keep doing what I'm doing. But if your mentality is contract, then pretty soon when the wife or the husband doesn't, when your spouse doesn't do it, their side of the deal, if you will,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's like, well, pretty soon you're like, well, I'm not going to do my part anymore. And like, well, I'll do that if you do this. And now you're negotiating, well, if you do these chores, I'll do these chores. And then it turns into kind of like a partnership of like a contractual business arrangement rather than a marriage. And there's a difference. There's a big difference.
There's a huge difference. And I think that difference not only affects that relationship in the marriage of the passion and the love that you see in that marriage between those two people, but it also affects, you know, the kids.
Yeah.
It affects your workplace. It affects all these different things where if it's a contract, your kids now view marriage as just a contract of I do what I do only if you do what you do.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, I'm now blaming you, I'm putting you down, I'm punishing you because you're not doing what the contract says you'll do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like a work environment, right? Like if you don't do what you're supposed to do, the boss is going to come down on you or punish you. And if you do extra, then the boss might give you a raise or reward. And and it's performance based, you know, response. How well you perform determines how well the other person will respond. And if we and there's a natural human kind of position for that. And so we have to be careful not to let our marriage turn into that and our relationships turn into that. It's got to be what Jesus models, which is he laid his life down for the church.
Yeah.
And so even while people were sinning, it says, while people were sinning, Jesus died on the cross.
Right.
People are like literally sinning their brains out down the street, and Jesus is dying on the cross for that sin, which means you and I's performance, his love is not connected to our performance.
Right.
And so if we're supposed to love our wives or our spouses like Christ loved the church, then their performance doesn't necessarily dictate our level of love.
Right. Our choice isn't based on another person's actions. It's based on our character. It's based on our identity, based on our standing with each other.
Yep.
And I think if you view, I don't know, I've read books of, you know, people who have gone into marriage counseling with these couples that are so disconnected and so distant from each other. And it's like, what's your goal here? Well, not to fight or not to do this or to have peace in the relationship. Where it's like, if your goal of a marriage or goal of a relationship isn't connection, then once that point of disconnect happens, you're just going to build safe distance from each other. The longer you go, the more distance that you have until you really get to that point of disconnection and forgive each other and work through that. And you're never going to form healthy connection if you're just pretending that the disconnect didn't happen or just moving on from one another and what they're saying. And so disconnection happens. It happens. It's a part of things. But what you do with that disconnection is really determining factor between a healthy relationship or an unhealthy relationship.
Yep, absolutely. It's true.
And I love how you mentioned love your wife as Christ loved the church. I think so many times, like you said on Sunday, I mean, the previous verse of wives submit to your husbands has been used as like a club against just beating people down and beating women down and beating wives down. But it's like, hey, just read the next verse and really understand what it means. And that won't happen. But I think the idea of servant leadership is so foreign in today's culture, where leadership is, I tell you what to do, I boss you around, and you do that. But it's like Christ, I mean, he washed his disciples' feet.
Right.
That was such a huge implication. Like, that was the servant of the house. That was the low of the low's job.
Yeah.
And he's like, if the servant is not greater than the master and I'm washing your feet, go do that.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I don't know if you're washing Amber's feet, probably not, but
I have never physically washed her feet. I can tell you that. Not that I won't. That's never come up in any sort of context in our 20 years of marriage.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But you're submitting to our ideas and you're, I think the best way to put it is you're running your best race and you're encouraging and empowering the other person to run their best race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think good leadership too is being able to be a servant leader.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people at the church know this. I own a business as well. In fact, we're in my office of my business office, and so just for fun, you can, like, this is what you're looking at this is the company office of. Look at that. You get the behind the scenes look. And all my peeps are out and about right now. So we have the room to ourselves. But you know, what makes, I think, a good leader is a servant leader. So my goal with my employees is that I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to help them be the most successful that they can be.
Yeah.
And that's what servant leadership is in the marketplace. But I think it comes back to the marriage as well, where I'm going to be everything that I'm going to do everything that I can to help my wife be everything that she can be. I want to see the God-given gifts in her. I want to call those out, encourage her. If I focus my energy in this marriage on making her the best that she can be and helping to help her develop all of the gifts that God has put inside of her, guess what? She's going to be so happy and fulfilled. And happy wife, happy life, they say. But it's so true, is that if you really focus your energy on helping your spouse be everything that they can be, then all of a sudden your marriage is going to get so much better. Problems happen when people are like, well, my needs aren't being met. Okay. Like, is that the terms of your marriage? You know, well, my needs aren't being met. Okay. Have you made your needs known? Like, does the person even know? Or are they trying to be like a mind reader? Or, we shouldn't have to say those things, because no, you should. You have to say those things, right? But it's like, if you just focus on making your spouse the best that they can be, then I don't know, that just puts a lot of good into the marriage, where you're sowing the seeds that you want to get.
Yeah.
And if both people can be focused on developing their spouse to be the best that they can be, man, watch out. If you can get both people on the same page.
Dangerous.
Dude, dangerous, man. You're going to be a super power couple.
Yes.
Like Angeli and Brad. Oh, they broke up. Never mind. Not them. Bad example.
Awkward.
Any other power couples out there?
Nothing is coming to mind currently. Justin Bieber and Haley. Is it Haley Bieber? I don't know.
Yeah, did they get married, or is it?
I think they got married.
Oh man, they might be the next power couple.
They might be the next big thing.
They could be.
They could be.
But celebrity marriages don't last very long. I'm not really. Well, yeah, I have my own ideas about that. You know, yeah. They're so used to being in the spotlight, and I think that it's hard for them to just be a servant in their own home, because they probably haven't. I mean, that's my. If I was surrounded by people constantly worshiping me for whatever reason, it might be hard to be a servant leader at home. I don't know. Let's find out. Yeah. I can be a celebrity.
Yeah. How about
have
you become the next
troves
celebrity?
of fans
There you
that
go.
no, I don't want to do that.
No,
that sounds terrible.
That does sound awful.
Could you imagine if like Justin Bieber went to the grocery store? What would happen?
Can you take my picture? Can I take a picture with you? It's just like I just want some cereal and some milk.
Right? Yeah. Leave me alone. I just want to buy some food. You know, I'm hungry. I'm hangry. Leave me alone. I just couldn't imagine like Johnny Depp like showing up at the grocery store. You're like, he's in there grabbing his groceries. He'd get mobbed. That'd be crazy.
It's a good thing there's delivery for groceries now.
This is true. Yeah. Or they just send their people to get them stuff. It's kind of, they have personal assistants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shopping assistants. I don't know how we got to this. I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right.
I completely derailed the conversation.
That is part of the midweek something.
I think it is. Yeah. It's the ADD and the just spinning everywhere. So.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, it does. It totally happens.
I love how you mentioned the celebrating and honor.
Oh, I love how you just brought that back. Thank you.
Celebrating and honoring the spiritual gifts of your spouse.
Yeah.
Of not viewing the gifts and talents that your wife has as a liability, but instead viewing it as an asset and actually viewing it as a way of bringing value to your relationship, but also your ministry of seeing how Amber fits in with your strengths and your talents.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, anything that you see from me that looks good and sounds good and does well, I'm telling you that it would be nothing. I mean, Amber's the force behind that a lot. I mean, obviously the Holy Spirit, whatever, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you see, if I look like I'm put together at all, like I'm dressed like reasonably well, it's probably my wife that's helping make that happen. And if, presenting well, some of just the normal skills in life, like with preaching and being in front of people, she's really helped with feedback and she does it in such a wise and caring way that when I say or do something that's really dumb, she'd be like, hey, about that, maybe next time we could just phrase it like, a little differently or whatever. So it's just being able to do that. And it's funny because we can totally look at our spouse, and when their spouse starts to shine, when my wife shines somewhere and people are like, wow, your wife is so amazing, and it's like, yeah, she is. She really, really is. And because like I want her to be the best that she can be, it's like she can outshine me and I'm just fine with that. I'm really just fine with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Where some people can view it as like a threat.
Uh-huh.
Where if you're outshining me, that means that I need to put you down or put you back in your place.
Yeah.
Because I'm supposed to be the man of the house, or I'm supposed to be on the spotlight, where it's like,
yeah, I'm the pastor of this church, not you.
Right.
And if you preach really, really, really good and people are like, wow, you're so amazing, and all of a sudden I feel insecure, oh, that's terrible. That would be just rough. Like, yeah, I'm so excited when she does preach and share and everybody's like, she's so good. I'm like, yeah, she is. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes, especially in the church world, we can view humility as like I need to put you down and put you and you to think less of yourself so you can be quote unquote humble.
That's such a messed up way of thinking about it, isn't it?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
I think C.S. Lewis, he puts it, humility is not thinking less of yourself, but it's actually thinking of yourself less.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to put it. I like that guy. He's pretty smart.
We
should have him on the podcast.
Yeah, let's get him on the podcast.
Sorry. He's dead. All right. Be hard to have him on the podcast. On that note, I think we might be running out of time. I don't know.
No, yeah. We'll just finish with this last thought of united versus untied. Do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. So united, if you want your marriage to be united or untied, and so marriage is coming untied and versus having a unity in your marriage, and the difference is where you put the I. It's like
so good.
Where you put the I in the word. It's like, well, if you put the I in one spot or another, so if you put yourself in the wrong position in your marriage, then you're going to untie your marriage. And if you put yourself in the right position, then hopefully you can be a unifier in your marriage. Now, I will say it takes both parties to make a unified marriage.
It does.
If one person is working really hard to make the marriage work and the other person isn't, it may not work. But if both people are in this position of like, hey, let's put ourselves last and put our spouse first, you end up in a unified marriage rather than an untied one.
Yeah, and putting yourself in a position where you set the direction, you set the tone, and you set the culture, really.
Right.
Definitely. But
yeah.
I think that kind of wraps up from this week. I'm excited for this weekend. Drew's coming on, and he'll be on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm hoping he can make time to be there before he flies out.
That'd be sweet.
Yep.
But thanks for joining us this
Absolutely.
week of the Midweek Something.
Okay. Till next time.
Till next
See you
time.
then.